بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما. So we're continuing our reading for the 32nd word, where we're trying to establish the proof of La Sharika Lahu. So any volunteers for recapping last week's discussion? Page 638. Want to say something?
Yeah.
Where's the other mic here?
I don't remember all of it, but I think we started with the question of what the stamp of power and the seal of creation means. Wait, before that, who did we talk to last time? Who was the representative? The what? Okay. And then
Within the body, first we started within the body, as in
okay.
the human body as the well-arranged city.
Okay.
And then we talked about like the human race as a whole.
Okay. So I guess we started off with talking about the stamp of power and the seal of creation and what that means. And then I think Burkhan gave a very nice answer, which was basically like, your seal is sort of like your signature. So the stamp of power, the stamp of unity basically means that you see that power amongst all creation. And then we talked about how this text is different than the ones we read before it, because we have that element of like Satan interfering. And then, like there was this idea of, just how Satan interferes in their social life. So I can disrupt, disrupt the functioning of their bodies and whatnot. And then also in the last paragraph, it was also something like that, like, like there is confusion in this species. So there must be some way to interfere in that. And then I think we sort of ended the discussion on that. I'm not sure if that discussion was complete, but there was also some discussion on this question that Zarar asked towards the end, which was on the second line, in the second paragraph on page 639, which was, do not say that seeing confusion in my species, you will be able to interfere in some way because the order is faultless. And Zara basically asked the question of how is Nazis killing Jews faultless? So we do see some faults existing according to him. And there were a lot of answers, but towards the end, Yusuf asked us to look towards the following sentences, which says, the conditions you imagine to be confused and disorderly are transcribed with perfect order, according to the Book of Power and Divine Determining. For the perfect order in animal and plants, which are far inferior to us and are under our supervision, demonstrates that this seeming disorder in us is but sort of writing. And then we were also asked to read the paragraph after that.
Jazakallah khair for the summary. Does anyone have anything else to add? Do you want to add something? Yes, please.
I listened to the summary and I just was going through these lines, and I think if we could go with those again to completely get that point that Zarar was asking, like from reading the following lines. So if you could do that.
Okay. But I guess, do you have anything to say? Does Birkan want to add something?
Oh, no, I was just trying to find the text and I on the text right now. So, no, I don't have anything to add other than just.
Do you take the mic, please?
Oh yeah. We talked a lot about the human face last week.
We talk about how there's like a template. So it's coming from the same source, but also there's a variation. And we talk about the artistry, the touches on the human face. And in general, we talked a lot about the art, how things are being created artfully. And I guess, yeah, that's all I want to add.
I guess then we can start with, you have something to say?
Yeah, I remember you asked something about DNA being powerful, and then how Sarah, she just was like, she just trashed DNA and she trashed everything. So
That's brutal.
yeah.
So I think we can start with Kadir's question. Let's just, again, try and establish how do we establish that the order is faultless? Because first we need to establish that what is a good order versus what is a bad order, Otherwise it's just circular. If you're starting with the conclusion, it's just circular reasoning. So I guess we can start from there. So does anyone have any thoughts on how we see a faultless order around us? Obviously, in the look of like apparent chaos around us. Well, we already read this last time.
Just from the last one. So maybe we should.
Maybe we should remind the question, because that was at the very end of the discussion last week. So probably some people wouldn't remember. So at the very end, Zarar raised the question. The author says the faultless, is it faultless?
Yes.
Okay. Faultless order, but he said we do see some faults. He said it was his,
Oh.
yeah, the let's say guilt. So how should we understand this faultless? Because like we discussed this probably at the like in first a few weeks when we made the comparison between there was a discussion on the order, and we made a comparison between the way author approaches order versus something like intelligent design arguments. And we said there's a big, huge difference between the two, because when we talk about intelligent design, like a thing comes to our mind is that everything is so beautiful, so perfect, and the perfect in the sense that every human being has two arms, but they don't. So this is one way, but the author approaches this order in a different way, we said. So I guess this question goes back to those discussions. So that was the question. What do we mean from order, by order, and especially with the faultless order? What do you understand from order when we say order? There's an order in universe.
So
an author says there's a faultless order in the universe.
I think we'll just
yeah.
read the last paragraph again just to make sure.
Do you want me to read from here? Yep.
What if you cannot?
Okay. But if you cannot, be silent. Do not say that seeing confusion in my species, you will be able to interfere in some way, because the order is faultless. The conditions you imagine to be confused and disorderly are transcribed with perfect order, according to the book of power and divine determining. For the perfect order in animals and plants, which are far inferior to us and are under our supervision, demonstrates that this seeming disorder in us is but a sort of writing. You also want me to read the next one because you asked us to do that last time. Is it at all possible that the one who artistically positions one thread running through a whole carpet should be other than the master designer of the carpet, or that the one who creates a fruit should be other than the creator of the tree that bore it, or that the one who creates the seed should be other than the fashioner of the being that produced the seed.
So I guess the question here is like, how do I confirm that this order is faultless and is in perfect order according to Book of Power and Divine Determining? Because like the author gives the example of animals and plants, but even with animals and plants, we see that like species becoming extinct, endangered, like especially stuff that's happening underwater with nuclear waste, we see degeneration of all sorts. So how do we confirm that this is actually a faultless order? That's the question.
Rikon, did you say this was different from what we discussed a couple weeks ago?
No, I said it was related to and similar.
Okay.
Very similar. The difference is,
Yeah.
if I get the
Yes, please.
microphone, I will not maybe answer, but give a wider scope. So this is this comes when author is discussing the human beings, right? So that's the difference between this part and the parts before we discussed. So there's a claim is that there's a fault in humans, among humans. Hence, if there's a fault, it means there's not like, it seems like it's not inscribed, right? It's not planned. There are different forces that clashes, and here comes the order you see, but it's not faultless because it's clashes of different forces, right? So that's the claim. And author says you think you see a fault, like a fault in order of humans, but actually it is faultless. And as Zarar added, so author says, look at the plants and the animal, you will see a perfect order. But Zarar says, even there, I don't see a perfect order. Again, Zarar says he has a problem, obviously. But so I don't even see a perfect order there with plants and the animals, because we see this degeneration of the animals, the extinction of the plants, and so on and so forth. So I can give you one example, for instance, that I very recently exposed, is that the explanation of the doctor was that all babies are born with vitamin K deficiency. All babies are born with vitamin K deficiency. So they have a risk for X, Y, Z. So you have to have this vitamin K shot, because all babies are born, again, with deficiency. Okay? So that's the explanation. And he was saying that there's a fault in this order. They were supposed to have enough vitamin K, but obviously they don't have, so we have to help them. Okay? So just as a disclaimer, we got the shot, so I'm not against any vaccine or anything, but that's the way things are interpreted. Okay, there's a fault. Just one example.
Like the anecdote Brother Yusuf shared the other day, where he met the guy in the bus and he was saying, God did not intend for the world to be this way. So it's like, he created all the animals, and then somewhere along we messed up, and now dodos are extinct and all sorts of stuff is happening underwater with nuclear waste and stuff. So how do I confirm that the order is in fact faultless? Please.
Okay, so I don't know if this answers, I guess, that question, but I was thinking in terms of like disorder, because the disorder is within the context of humans. I feel like it's hard for me to imagine what order looks like, because I'm always viewing it within the context of human. And even when it comes to species, for example, if something came from the animal and it's a parasite, I wouldn't call it's part of the order because it's impacting me in a negative manner. But if it's contributing nicely, I'll be like, well, this is a nice part of the ecosystem. But if it's like an invasive species, all of a sudden I'm like, this shouldn't be here. So I think like within the human context, it's really hard to see the disorder, because it's my viewpoint on what works for me and like what is benefiting me.
Please.
Why are we thinking of order as like our definition of mercy, or like our limited definition of mercy? Didn't we talk about this earlier? Like order doesn't mean that like the Nazis aren't going to kill Jews. Order just means that when Nazis kill Jews, they're going to be dead. And they're not going to like come back to life or anything of the sort. Like that's what order means. It doesn't necessarily, like Allah hasn't taken the onus upon himself to make the world fit like our definition of perfect, right? Because otherwise, like what was the point of sending prophets in the first place? If the order was going to be flawless, if everything was going to be perfect, like why would Allah even say in the Quran that you're not going to be able to do this? What was the point of sending prophets? I think the point is that there is going to be disorder. There is going to be like all those things that we might not find perfect, but like it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with divine determining.
So you're saying the perfect flawless order does not exist?
I'm saying it is what we're living in.
But how do I confirm that? I don't see the order. That's like I can buy the author's argument, but that's just circular reasoning. It is because it's perfect.
What's your
I don't see-
definition of order?
Well, we need to establish that. Like that needs to be established first. But
Don't fight.
apparently, we're not fighting. But like, I mean, a species is created,
Mhm.
any animal species,
Mhm.
and then because of human activities, that
Mhm.
species is endangered and probably will go extinct within the next 20 years. Now that seems like disorder to me. For example, like God intended to create a species,
Mhm.
and He did, and then humans messed up, and now that species is gone. Just like sort of apparently, at least it seems like we're defying this order.
Let me ask you a question. You're talking about extinct species, right? What if dinosaurs still exist today? What if they were still around? Like,
Sorry?
what if dinosaurs still existed today? Like, we would get eaten. You would
Like
be
as
probably
Jurassic
their
Park?
breakfast.
Yes.
So like you can. I feel like the problem with this kind of argument is like, oh, why they, why the species go extinct and blah blah blah. It's like it makes you as if like you're trying to be condescending a little towards the whatever, and then it's like whenever there is condescending feelings, it's like I just don't find it right. I can't really explain it. It's just like when I see a white person, he's telling me, "Oh, you must have had a poor life." I'm like, bro, like, come on, like, what are you talking about, right? Like, I don't know. That's how I feel. But you want to say something?
But it's like, how do I confirm that the order is faultless? And I'll like,
I think that is like the reason why you can confirm it is because in your life, like my life is written, but every day, like it's established before I was born, and I don't know what's gonna happen, right? But I live it knowing that it's written somehow. And that's maybe extension is supposed to happen. Maybe humans are supposed to mess up. And I think the question is more like, if you're looking for order, then the first of it is questioning, is this supposed to happen? Like, who's to say humans were never supposed to do this, right? If the predetermination is like, before I'm born, everything I'm supposed to do is kind of like written and known. So I think then you can kind of look at it within that context, at least like that's how I look at it.
I mean, like, I'm sorry. But like, we're in Muharram, so like, it just makes sense. I mean, I struggled with this for the longest time. I think I still do at some level. Like, if a perfect order did exist, Imam Hussein should have won that war. Imam Hussein should have won the war against Yazid. I struggle with this for the longest time. It's like,
Big disagree.
because if two people are fighting, then who does God support? The guy with more guns? Yes, please.
But this sounds like if this understanding of order, Prophet should have never died in the first place. Like death is there. Why is death there then? Because death is, in that way of thinking, if you take it biologically, like every newborn baby is sick with the sickness of death. Yes, everybody is dying. So if this is I don't know, thermodynamics, whatever, like going towards the direction of disorder. I mean, if this is our definition of order, then yes, like it's going into a direction of disorder and annihilation and death. But so maybe we can take order in two levels here. The first one is, it's not, I would say, as in the sense of a complete logical proof. But looking at it from, let's say, 30,000 feet, you do see that things are orderly made, like as if you go to, I don't know, some amusement park, and you see that all the machines are working properly. And then you enter from here, exit from here, here are the restrooms, here are the restaurants and whatnot. So you say that here's a well-ordered amusement park. You're looking from afar. And what do you expect from any amusement park? Like machines should be working properly. People getting there should getting some amusement and whatnot. And you say that this environment fulfills its purpose well. So this is an orderly place. What would a disorderly amusement park would look like? There would be machines, half of them are broken, or that like restaurants are in one corner, restrooms are in the other corner. So like you would say there's no order in here really. Probably there had been multiple engineers and they were all not talking to each other and whatnot. So in this sense, looking at it from 30,000 feet, like in the world we live in, you do observe that sort of an order. But again, we will need to come up with a definition, addition to that, definition of what is the utility, purpose of this world now, which takes us to maybe a secondary level. So for the purpose of its existence, especially, this world is perfectly ordered. What is that? Now I'm reading it more in the sense of read in the name of your Lord. Then I would say, yes, death was necessary and very purposefully put in this life. So as being born was necessary and orderly, death is necessary and orderly, and it's very beautifully put in there. As let's say Musa alayhi salam or Dawood alayhi salam, Sulaiman alayhi salam being the winning rulers, Imam Hussein failing in his attempt was necessary for the purpose of existence. The message is that today, when reading both sides of the story, as an audience, I am in need of reading different things. And for example, from since the two stories are related, actually, let's say Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman alayhi salam story, these are maybe exceptional stories of religious leaders being successfully being leaders of the worldly life, yet being spiritual leaders at the same time, because it doesn't work that much together. When it comes to Imam Hussein's case, which also applied to Ahlul Bayt in general, so as if the Creator said, you are going to be the spiritual leaders of that society, not the worldly leaders of that society. And he didn't, multiple generations later even, Qadar didn't allow Ahlul Bayt to be the rulers. So in this sense, and in today even, if you look at people who claim to be like political Islamists and whatnot, I mean, it's going to deviate the topic a little bit, so let's not dig any deeper than that. But we do see, and practically we do see a lot in this Turkish political arena as well, but the more people try to be the religious leader at the same time, the worldly leader, you start to see that deviation is happening in one direction, the corruption is happening more. So in this sense, really, I took a lot of lessons from Imam Hussein's Shahada as well, saying that Qadar didn't allow for the Ahlul Bayt or the offsprings of the messenger to say that this is not your duty. Your duty is really to be the spiritual leaders of that society, focus on here. And even at some point, Nursi gives the example of Fatimid dynasty, because they used to rule in the name of Ahlul Bayt. And he says they also dived into this worldly life. So they couldn't preserve the purity of prophetic, like family life. So this is why, for example, I would say that Imam Hussein's death was within the order of Qadar as well. But again, from which lens? This is from the lens of what is the purpose of this existence and what does the author mean by this existence? So if you read Lord of the Rings, you could have said that, as there are humorous short videos about this. Why didn't they get onto the eagles from the very beginning and just drop it to the... So there wouldn't be any story. You wouldn't get the message that the author wanted to deliver. So the order in there really required the Frodo to go through all this stuff and then eventually Gollum putting it there, not the Frodo himself. So I think this is, of course, a secondary level of order. So I don't know if it makes sense.
Jazakallah khair, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
And from this perspective, I even say that, like, I'm thankful that this event happened that way. So with Imam Hussein, for instance, and entire Ahlul Bayt, so that I still have access to their leadership. Otherwise, if they were, part of this corruption, as we see in every other part, my access to truth would be severed. Severed. Yes, severed. So again, from this perspective, I say that, alhamdulillah, that it happened that way. So, and this is interesting, like the author, like when we look at it, the author says, the conditions you imagine to be confused and disorderly are transcribed with perfect order according to what? According to book of power and divine determining. Qadar. So, as if author says, the order I'm talking about is the fact that when you look at the creation, you will realize that everything is written. So written means it's not happening, out of mere chance. It's not happening, instantly out of some clashes of power that cannot be foreseen and so on. But it is written. It follows a written story. When I look at the creation, I will say that, yes, there is a knowledge out there, and there must be someone who knows past, present, and future. When I look at the events, I will see how they connect together, leading to perfect outcome for the fruit, for the human beings. Author talks about the next paragraphs, about the fruits, the seeds and the fruits, right? So you are the fruit as a human being. And everything, including the historical events, acting in favor of you, right? Everything happened so that the truth can reach you in the best way. Everything happened in a way that when you die, right, you will be ready, you will be trained for the examination, however you take it. So it's a perfect order in that sense. It is written. From your perspective, when you look at it, you would say that, oh, there must be an author of this. It's not that, different episodes directed by different directors. It is written from beginning to end. Even with so another thing is the book of power. So it telling us, so Yusuf summarized it in a way that he says, read in the name of your Lord who created, right? So once upon a time we had something left over, like in our house, and it was rotten. We forgot it, something like we saw like a piece of food. I don't even remember. We forgotten it, and then it was left, a few weeks maybe, and then it was rotten. And a friend of ours, a brother, he came, he looked at it, and the first thing he said, look at this beautiful thing. When you refuse to eat it, Creator gives it to something else. Because there was some, the other animal beings, they're feeding from this rotten, let's say, apple, right? If you refuse to eat it, He will give it to something else. And then it doesn't stop there. He will also implant or create this dissatisfaction in you. Because when I look at the apple, it's like, disgusting. He will create this feeling in you so that you will better understand what's going on there. I refuse to eat this fruit. It was given to me as a nima. I didn't do my duty properly, and I feel bad about it. because my creator feels bad about it, like, you know, from my perspective. So I took my lesson. These animals took their food, and nothing, including my feelings, are wasted. Such a perfectly orderly created event. So if you look from a naturalistic perspective, you will say that, oh, the apple is wasted, or you are such a, you know, terrible person, you wasted the food, and so on. But from a lens in which I take everything coming from the power, the book of power, I see the order there. But the order is not the way you would look. It's not that, you know, if there was an order, the apple would never rotten. No, no, no. It is orderly, meaning that you will see the hand of the creator behind every event, even apple getting rotten. And then these animals, the worms and so on, you know, coming and starting eating it. There's an order. There's an order in the name of mercy, in the name of warning, in the name of education, and so on. So, book of power, book of qadar, or divine determining.
Jazakallah khair. That was incredibly beautiful. Here.
Assalamu alaikum. From what I gather and understood by the description of both of you, sounded like order is something when there is a deliberate meaning being delivered behind an event, and that's why there's order there. But when you think about deaths, so every death would be meaningful, like it's teaching you a lesson or something. But if there's someone dying in the middle of a desert and nobody knows about it, is there a lesson behind that? Because nobody knows what's going on. So I'm sure there are other events or incidents similar to those where nobody really directly look at those or investigate those. So
Not even the person who dies.
how would you learn something after your death? After their death?
No. No. Yes, please. Same friend who gave this explanation with the apple and so on, he always reacted in a negative way when we say taking lesson out of it. So because we use this taken lesson out of something in the sense that I read a book, book is not about me, book is not talking to me, but still I make a connection, I take some lesson out of it. This is the way we take. But when we say lesson or education in the Quranic sense, it is creator is directly talking to you. Creator is creating something just for you so that you will get the truth in the utmost level that you can. It's like a private education for you and perfectly created for you. So when we talk about taking lessons, it's not, you know, somebody dying there, Zeren dies, may Allah, forgive. Zeren dies, I observe, I say something, I see something, he makes a comment, and we get a lesson. It's more about, like when Zeren dies, it's more about Zeren first and foremost. And then who is left behind, but it's not just seeing Zeren, it's about the feelings that being created in me as well. So this perfect connection with my creator, everything about me, and this death. So this is the lesson. Okay. So even when you imagine this hypothetical, like I'm underlining this hypothetical, because you cannot get any lesson from anything hypothetical. It has to be real. Like you have to talk about what exists. Because when you go to hypothetical, you can think about an event which contradicts to the rest of the creation. So in your example, for instance, I don't know whether it contradicts to the rest of the creation or not. It's hypothetical event. All I can say that if somebody dies, there's somebody definitely facing something new. That's one thing. Another thing, it's not only about, again, taking lessons. So for instance, when seed dies, and it dies in a real sense, it's like dissolves. There's no seed anymore. When the seed dies, it's an opening of the gate for a new realm, for the seed. It's the beginning of being a tree. So the same goes with you as well. So from the book of power, when you look from this lens, or when you look at it in the name of the creator, the death is just a beginning for you. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing bad with death. It's like a seed being dissolved so that tree will come out. Same goes with you as well. So this world is like just a what is it? Tarla. Field that you are,
Cultivating.
Sorry?
Sowing seeds.
Yes. What is the past form of it? Sown?
Cultivated, planted.
Okay, planted, right? And now you are being trained in that sense. Like you are being cultivated, yes. Shaped and so on, being prepared to be tree. So whatever perspective you take about that, you will see nothing but an opportunity for you, something good for you. But always, this is my personal suggestion at least, always rely on what exists, what you see out there. Don't rely on hypothetical examples.
Further user, please.
In addition to this, what you asked makes perfect sense to me. But there's an assumption in that question that humans are the only conscious beings who read the meaning. This is why somebody dying in the middle of the desert, there's no other human, nobody is to read that meaning, so it's wasted. Which should keep you asking further. That's why this is a good question. Is it really the case? Is consciousness and reading only done by humans? Or are humans the only conscious beings that the creator invited to this banquet of creation, which will observe and appreciate and prostrate to the creator? You should say, well, then we are not able to do that because we are very limited. Even if that person was dying in front of me, I will get limited meaning out of that. But I am pretty sure the creator is creating millions of meanings out of this person's death, Sabar Samavat, as we were discussing today. You would say, I would expect my maker not to waste those meanings, would create observers which will understand all those different meanings. This is you're looking from your perspective, saying that the one who creates with wisdom, you would expect the one demonstrating that wisdom not to waste that wisdom. Still, you're going from your side. So you would say that I would expect him to create, and I do observe that he can create conscious beings, like this is, and here's a banquet which he invited all those conscious beings to hear, but he created more than what we can digest. As if we are invited to a banquet and you see that it's perfect, like all types of food, but like you are Pakistani and you're good with eating a certain diet, but there's a lot of, I don't know if you guys are good with like fish, like a lot of sushi. You said, well, I mean, sushi, it's not our type, yet it's on this banquet. So you would then say either they will come eventually or somehow that food should not get wasted, because you do observe that also I should be observing that the owner of the house is not wasteful, because wastefulness means lack of wisdom. So to the extent that I am convinced about wisdom and then observing that there are more than what I can consume, I would say that there must exist other invited conscious beings, which would take you to belief in angels. Actually, you would say that there must exist other types of conscious beings in this existence which are prostrating to the creator. So this is also a very good example of belief in the unseen. Even if you haven't seen them, you do see their food. So you say that this food must be for some hungry people, some hungry beings. Their type is different than me. They eat sushi, I eat biryani, fine. Because actually author uses the exact same argument that I said, so I'm copying it from him. He uses like some very weird example. He says, look at the sun. He says, maybe when I look from here, there does not seem to be the life conditions as I know of them. So it looks like it's desolate, no life in there. But he says, well, maybe I eat biryani, they eat baklava, who knows? Like I am breathing in the air, fishes are breathing in the water. So it's an unusual life if you compare it to yourself. Maybe there's some type of consciousness and life in which the creator makes them breathe fire, flame in the sun. Fine. I mean, there's nothing that prevents that, but you do know that exactly because of the reason you said, this wisdom should not get wasted, and it is being manifest there. Because if there's no observer, then it literally becomes non-existent. Like if there's an artwork here and nobody looks at it, that artwork is practically non-existent because nobody's seeing it. So yeah.
I'm not sure if I agree with that. I guess it's just reminding me of that thing that's like, if a tree falls and no one is there to hear it, like, does it make a sound? And it's like, it makes a sound, you know, even if nobody is there to appreciate that artwork is still artwork. So I think for me, that isn't I do think it is a top-down approach to be like, I don't know, like that there has to be an observer. I don't know. I'm not convinced.
Rakan is in deep thought.
No, I'm imagining it for trees down.
Yes.
Just like a brief comment. I guess
Start with item 7.
I don't disagree. Yeah, a brief comment in the sense of like where we're going. I think because it has to be a confirmation from you, for sure, for you, it would be a top-down approach to think, okay, now the angels exist because he said it, which is definitely something you would deny. And that would be the correct approach. But coming to like an idea of like how I could look for myself and witness, oh, there must be something. This idea of dinosaurs, for example, it came up, 200 million years ago, or however many million years ago, the planet was full of these creatures, which right now we only have remnants of in fossils. I'm like, who was appreciating that? Who was looking at it at that point? What was the purpose of these dinosaurs existing? Like you go into this thought, like forget like the whole universe and galaxy, just look at Earth. There's this whole entire world that you had no clue about that existed. And I'm just like, why did that exist? Who was appreciating that? How did that make sense? Where's the wisdom in it? And sure, right now we can read it in some sense. But when I look there, I'm like, there must have been something there. The purpose was created because I witness orderliness in the way I'm living my life. And the things that happen to me, I witness orderliness. I see purpose in whatever is happening. I can read things from the smallest to like the largest things in my life, like whatever path I'm taking. So then I come to the conclusion, there must have been something there that was appreciating those dinosaurs. Because it's just such an amazing, profound thing that existed that right now we have so little access to. And then we can call this maybe, the Quran would come and I would say, oh, maybe the Quran is telling me there's this thing called angels. And I'm thinking maybe this is what angels mean, something that prostrates and can read those names that I as a human I am missing, but there's some other things that are actually not missing those. And I think maybe we shouldn't like go into this again. The top-down approach would be, okay, now angels exist as these white light creatures that are now everywhere. That would again be a top-down approach. Because right now at this point, we haven't gone into that point. We're just like, there must be something. And then whatever that is, that's something
confirm what it could be, and then what you read from. And it's a very dense topic that I can't do justice to, so I'll end there.
Jazakallah khair.
Whoever deserves-
No man's zone. Also, just to reiterate what Brother Birkan said, I found that very, very profound. And I think that for me is the conclusive evidence that the Creator does not waste, like the decaying apple. So if you don't eat it, the Creator will give it to something else, you know, and that itself teaches you a lesson. So alhamdulillah, I found that very, very beautiful.
I have a much less profound example compared to my good brother here.
It was somebody else's
Oh,
example.
oh, mashallah, mashallah.
Credit goes to
But it's okay. I accept that I'm a much more profane person. Yeah, yeah. Alhamdulillah.
You know what that means?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I think back to the topic of like finding order, right, in the chaos. I think for me, the more the example I always think of is when I went to Bangladesh, and you have these roads, it's complete lawlessness. You got the construction trucks, you got the cars, sedans, you got rickshaws, you have motorcycles, all types of people just in one road, just fighting. There's no lanes, there's no traffic lights, there's no, I don't know, traffic guards, there's nothing. It's just chaos, just people just going in whatever direction. There's no lane, nothing. And to me, that is like the epitome of chaos. And just being in there and witnessing it, I feel like you come to appreciate and understand that there is an order, right? Like I would expect every 5 seconds there's an accident, but that does not occur. There's actually some sort of pattern, and people survive. Compared to here, where we have roads, we have paint, we have paved roads, we have lights, we have all sorts of things. But even when I was just coming on my way here, there was a car flipped upside down. How does that happen? What are you doing, right? Compared to what's going on in Bangladesh, this is ridiculous. It should not occur. And I think that to me means there's a order within the chaos, and there's maybe even a chaos within the order, but all of that is still within an even larger order.
Jazakallah khair. I think we can continue reading from where we left off. So, volunteers for reading?
Can I read?
Yes, please.
Know where you want me to end?
I'll tell you rise or blind. Start, I'll tell you where to stop.
Wait, have we? Also, your eyes are blind. You do not see the miracles of power on my face, the wonders of creation in my being. If you did see them, you would understand that my maker is such that nothing at all can withstand him or be difficult for him. The stars are easy for him as particles. He creates the spring with as much ease as a flower. He is one who includes the index of the vast universe in my being with perfect order. Could a lifeless, impotent, blind, and deaf thing like you interfere in any way in the art of such a being? So be silent. And saying, "Off with you, go away," he drove him away. Next, the one making these claims went and addressed the broad carpet covering the face of the earth and the lavishly decorated and embroidered shirt clothing it on behalf of causes. And in the language of nature and philosophy, claiming, "I can have control over you and be your owner, or at least have a share in you." So the shirt, the carpet, said to him on behalf of truth and reality, and through the tongue of wisdom, "If you have the power and art to weave and create all the well-ordered and purposeful shirts and carpets, whose embroideries are all different, which have clothed the earth to the number of years and centuries, then have been removed in an orderly fashion and strung on the line of past time, and will clothe the earth again, carpets and shirts whose programs and forms have been drawn and specified in the sphere of divine determining, and which will be attached to the ribbon of future time. And if you have two wise and powerful hands with which to reach from the creation of the world, so its destruction indeed from pre-eternity to post-eternity, and if you have the wisdom and ability to create every one of all my threads and to repair and renew them with perfect order and wisdom, and if you are able to hold in your hand and create the globe, which is our model and is wearing us, making us its veil and outer garment, then you can claim to have mastery over me. If you cannot, then away with you. There is no place for you here. Moreover, there is on us such a stamp of unity and seal of oneness that one who does not have the whole universe within the grasp of his power, and one who cannot see at one time all things with all their functions, and cannot do innumerable things at the same time, who is not all present and all seeing everywhere, who is not unconfined by space, and who does not possess infinite wisdom, knowledge, and power, such a one cannot own us. Neither could he interfere. So the representative went off, saying, "Perhaps I will be able to persuade the globe of the earth and find something going for me there." So he went and said to the globe, once again, on behalf of causes and in the language of nature, "Since you travel in such an aimless manner, you demonstrate that you have no owner, in which case you can be mine." To which the earth replied in a thunderous voice, in the name of truth and with the tongue of reality, "Do not talk such utter nonsense. How could I be just aimless and without an owner? Have you found my garments or even the tiniest point or thread in them to be in disarray, without order? And have you seen them to be without wisdom, purpose, and art, that you tell me I am ownerless and aimless? If you can really own my vast orbit round which I travel in 1 year, a distance that should take approximately 25,000 years, where I perform my duty of service with perfect balance and wisdom, and own the 10 planets, which are my brothers and are charged with duties like myself, together with the space through which they travel. And if you have infinite wisdom and power with which to create and position the sun, which is our leader, and to which we are bound and attached by a compassionate attraction, and to fasten me and the other planets to it like stones in a sling, and to employ us and cause us to revolve with perfect order and wisdom, then you can claim to have mastery over me. But if you cannot, get out.
I think we'll stop there. Could you go back and read the 2 footnotes that I missed?
Yeah.
There's also a few sentences. What if we cannot get out?
Go to hell. I've got work to do, my duty to perform.
Or maybe we can read the next paragraph as well.
Or the next one, moreover.
And then stop there.
All right. Moreover, our magnificent order, awesome movement, and purposeful subjugation demonstrate that our master is such that all beings, from minute particles to the stars and galaxies, are obedient and subjugated to him like soldiers under orders. He is an all-wise possessor of glory, a possessor of absolute sovereignty, who arrays the sun with planets as easily as he arrays and ornaments a tree with its fruit.
Can you go back and read the 2 footnotes?
Yeah.
The properties both living.
Yep. The first footnote on page 639. In fact, the carpet is both living and vibrates in a regular fashion. Its embroideries are being continuously replaced with perfect wisdom and order in order to display the ever-differing manifestations of the weaver's names. In short, the particle referred the claimer to the red corpuscle. The red corpuscle referred him to the cell, and the cell referred him to the human body to the human race, and the human race to the earth's shirt, which is woven from all the species of animate creatures. The earth's shirt referred him to the globe of the earth, which in turn referred him to the sun, and the sun referred him to all the stars. Each one of them said, "Go, if you are able to take possession of the next one up from me, do so, then come and try to be my master. If you are unable to defeat it, then you are unable to get possession of me." That is to say, one whose authority does not extend to all the stars cannot make a single particle heed his claim to mastery.
Jazakallah. So, where there's the 3rd one?
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay, go on. Yeah.
If half the diameter of a circle is approximately 180 million kilometers, the circle covers approximately a 25,000 year distance.
Years.
What?
Jazakallah khair. So initial thoughts, comments, concerns, questions. Yes, please.
Just so when I read this, he says, moreover, there is such a stamp on of unity and seal of oneness that one who does not have the whole universe within the grasp of his power, and who cannot see at one time all things with all their functions and cannot do this and that, like one who doesn't have all of this in his grasp, the whole universe in his grasp, cannot make change to a minute part. It's from my perspective, I have a view of a very small area, not even like the whole universe, forget the galaxy, forget even like the solar system. I have a view of like a small area around me that I can actually witness. So is the author making the claim that how can I make the claim that this whole universe is in perfect order, and whoever controls the whole universe has to control this, or whoever's controlling this must control the whole universe? It seems like all I can say myself is, within my life, I see that there is order, and this order fits the solar system, let's say, and as much as I can see, and it kind of seems to fit the rest of whatever else is around me, but I can't really go further and say this fits the whole universe. It seems like it's a statement I can't like confirm. Or is it just I would extrapolate and be like the whole universe must be the same or something like. Yeah, so that's just my question.
Please.
So you, in a hypothetical example,
Currently,
you get married to a lady, and when she cooks perfectly. Like you taste it and you say that, oh my God, this is it. Like, give me one more, please, one more, please, and so on. And every time, and every time she cooks, or you can change the order. Every time you cook, doesn't matter. Every time she cooks, you say that, yes, this is mastery. This is art. This is, perfect. Every time. So, and I come to your house, we start talking, gossiping about our wives and so on. And you tell me that, oh, my wife is a perfect cook. So if I tell you that, but Abdurrahman, come on, you only have access to, the food so far you ate. How do you know that she will cook perfect again the next moment? Or another, the meal will be great again. You wouldn't have such a question. You would say, no, she's a great cook. Like I experienced it, and that's it. I have my conclusion, you would say. Like you wouldn't even assume or expect a different outcome when she cooks, right? So you are convinced. So when we, at least to me, when I say, how can I confirm something? It doesn't necessarily mean that I have to take it into my hand, observe it in the moment, and I say that, okay, this is true. I don't need that. Like, I read a book, I start reading it in the middle, I have some conclusions about the author, and they are perfect conclusions. They are conclusions in the real sense. I don't need to finish the book to have some idea about the author. So this is how I see it. Like we as a, let's say, human race, yes, you have your individual, the access to the universe, but Newton had another type of access to the universe, and you benefit from it as well. We have some others, the people who were thinking about the other parts of the universe, and you benefit from them as well. So some of us are married, some of us are not married, and as a collective group, we have this, the common understanding of, let's say, human relationships. The unmarried ones, they don't say that, we cannot know it because we haven't experienced it. But you have an understanding, at least a type of understanding, because you know people who are married. So we benefit from each other in that sense. So your access to the universe is not that limited. At least, to me.
Jazakallah khair. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Do you have the mic?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are there any other comments, concerns? Yeah. Mike, sorry.
I actually have a question on sort of the second to last paragraph on page 639, when the representative is addressing the earth. And sort of my question is in regards to sort of like the broad carpet covering the face of the earth, and the lavishly decorated and embroidered shirt clothing it. So I was just wondering what is the what is the purpose in mentioning both the carpet and the shirt? Like both of these things are being like stated to like cover the earth, or the earth is like wearing it. So I was just wondering what sort of like the intention behind that was, like in making these two sort of, I guess, not comparisons, but just like saying it in these two different ways, I suppose. That was just my question.
Please, Brother Yusuf.
So, it might not be the best answer, but the way I see this is normally we don't pay attention to, like every spring, a new cloth is really being hand tailored for every tree, every like a carpet is being laid over every field, like with tiny flowers, because when you think about especially hand woven carpets, all those, and if the resolution of the carpet is larger, and they measure it by resolution, like per centimeter square, how many knots are there? So this higher the resolution, the more the knots is the better quality of a carpet. So if you look in the springtime, those minute, very small flowers are being opened everywhere. Like if I do it in my, like there are two containers in front of our house, and I'm not a good caretaker of that. So I sometimes put seeds, sometimes I don't. But then you go to fields on mountaintops and you see that there are being hand-woven carpets are laid down there. So as if the author is saying that, look, this cannot be unintentional. Somebody is intentionally in every spring laying down these carpets in there. And then for the like shirts, this tree is being enshrouded with a new shirt, like according to itself, because its leaves are different than the next tree. It has a different shirt. So every single one of them are being hand-tailored a cloth, which is specifically fitting that. And this happens every year. So as if the author, by naming it as carpet and shirt, saying that, look, where's the tailor? There must be a tailor, but the tailor it's not like a mass production factory, but it is, there's every tree is different, every location is different. For their specific things are being done. So who does that? The larger the surface is, and then types of clothes that are being hand sewn are different, requires that so much of a knowing and caring tailor is at work. So I guess this was what I was taking in here, just to, I mean, the metaphor he used in here is to attract our attention to the fact that there must be a tailor.
Yes, please.
So I have a question. Like here it says, since you travel in such an aimless manner, you demonstrate that you have no owner. So if you read through the following paragraphs, you can see like it says how the earth cannot revolve around the sun itself. Like there must be a creator. And you can get to that fact that there must be someone who is creating everything. But what is the aim of this? Like, why is the earth revolving around the sun? Why couldn't it be closer to the sun? Why is it like at this certain distance? Like, is there aim in that? Like, when I read through the following paragraphs, I understand the creator, but I don't understand the order. Like, what is the aim of the earth revolving around the sun?
Yes, please.
I think we've talked a lot about how, like, a lot of the creation, a lot of the things in the creation, are there for us to know our God better. Like, I can tell you from my perspective what I understand from the earth revolving around the sun. And you actually see it a lot where people like post those like factoids about how, like, if the earth was just a little closer to the sun, we'd all burn. Like it wouldn't be hospitable if it was just a little too far, like we'd be like freezing to death. And then, the way the earth revolves around the sun, like, helps you measure time, helps you helps you keep on track, like how much time has passed. Earth's revolution helps different people experience day and night. So I think for me specifically, I see a lot of signs in there that this world has been created for my, or this earth has been created for my comfort and in a very specific way that fulfills my needs and fulfills human needs. So I think for me, I see a lot of, I see a God in that. I see a creator in that.
Again, it's a top-down approach, but why couldn't he just make it a little bit closer? I know it's a top-down approach, but
Yes, please.
So I think Dua's perspective was very nice. And actually, this is how Quran is introducing the order of sun and Earth's orbit as well. Like it's introducing sun as a lamp to us. And as we were discussing today, so as if by introducing sun as a lamp, you know what a lamp is, as if the creator is saying that, in this house, you need to maintain this lamp, and the lamp is there for your comfort. So in this darkness of the space, I put that lamp over there for your comfort. For your comfort, for you to be in warm. So what does that tell you? It's telling you that there is someone who is taking care of you, who is maintaining you, providing you. So the order of the sun being in there as it is, as a lamp, as a properly maintained lamp, is all telling you that you are being cared, you are being watched over. And eventually, light is just one of your needs out of many. And that need of yours, which is for your eyes and also, let's say, your skin, let's say warmth. And if you would like to say, well, sun is also my oven. In that oven, all the apples and the oranges and the bananas are cooked and everything is cooked. So it's also my oven. So in a sense, it's that kitchen. My provider is really taking care of me with that sun. Then eventually you can also ask the question, if we take it to there, how about my ultimate eternal need of afterlife? So even by looking at the sun, you can say that the one who takes care of me with the sun so mercifully will not let me rot under the earth for good. So even the order of sun can tell you, can make you convinced that I must be provided. The one who take cares of me by maintaining the sun will not leave me alone in the grave either. So, I mean, as many meanings you can extract out of that. It is sab'a samawat. So
since the example is with the sun, I've been thinking about this book of power or hand of power, the phrases in the text, and this just clicked something in my mind when we talk about the sun. Sun is a really very powerful example. So when somebody, for instance, Abdurrahman comes and tells me, but Birkan, this is really hard. How are we going to do that? Or how are we going to have things turned out to be in a very specific way so that the outcome would be the way we want. Let's say there's the disease and we want to get rid of it. It's so hard. And he says, but Birkan, is so hard to get rid of it. And, the one thing I say is that, the one who puts this giant, ball of fire out there, keep it in such a distance, in such a way, all these, the rotating and so on, just because so that I get warm. Who can do this thing easily? Because when I look at the sun, just give me warm, and like the warmth, this giant ball of fire there, I say, I see such a power within the mercy, and whatever difficulty I have in front of me, it's nothing for him. So this, the hand of power or book of power, of course, there are different ways to take it as well. But when we look at the creation from such a lens, we see how a big of a power in play, in action, so that I get this, the experience.
Yes, please.
So Birkan, you said you're reading the Book of Power, not the new Lord of the Rings TV show, The Rings of Power.
Thank you for highlighting this. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that.
I mean, it's just another thing that sort of, I guess, is bothering me is where it says, if you did see them, you would understand that my maker such that nothing at all can withstand him or be difficult for him. The stars are as easy for him as particles. It's just like everything is just very easy. But I do have this sense of appreciation. For example, like when I look at a worm, it's a simple creation, and I do have, let's say, a small sense of awe. But when I look at the mountains or rivers, or let's just say the galaxies, there's a different sense of awe. It's like, but what then if everything is just same for the creator, what is the wisdom behind this different levels of, this awe that rises within me? It's like, I don't treat it as the same. It's like, yeah, it's all the same. There is a hierarchy there. But here the author says like everything is just the same. So what is the wisdom? Because I am feeling it, what lesson do I take from this?
I mean, I don't have text in front of me, but does he says everything just same?
Oh yeah,
Or
the stars are
does he says everything as easy
it's
as
as easy for him as the particles.
it's not the same thing, right?
But isn't like my feeling related to as in how difficult the thing is, because like the mountains or the galaxies. I don't know what to attribute my feelings to.
So for your feelings, compare a mosquito, an elephant, and a coronavirus and sun. So which one is more awesome for you, sun or mosquito? Why not mosquito?
Obviously, you haven't studied mosquito.
I'm talking about like the intuition that is there.
So like if your source of your awe is for magnanimity of power, then maybe you would say in your perception, sun requires more power to lift from your point of view. But in terms of if you say magnanimity of art, you would say mosquito is no less artful than an elephant or the sun, because writing something as artful in a smaller space is even more artful. Again, from our lens as human, the tiniest artwork is requiring more of a skill to put it there. So to one of your questions, I think there were multiple, but one of them, why is there different scales, but they are showing different things? You do observe life both on a elephant and on a mosquito, but mosquito is showing you that even on the small surface, I can write this very artful, apparently what's it, self-controlled drone. Then on the other hand, let's say if it was a giant bird, like a Boeing 707 or whatever type of a plane, then he would say, I am creating the same creature, self-autonomous drone, but now at scale. So they are showing different, from your lens, skills of the creator, different names, let's put it this way. But that specific statement in here about they are both the same to his power, we will study this in detail when we come to وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Today we saw a similar verse and I changed it as he has power over all things. So what does that mean? Is it really that creation of mosquito and creation of the sun both must be the same before the creator? Because this is what وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ means. But when we get there, the author is actually, it's the longest part of this 20th letter we will study. In depth, he dives into وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ because he says in this age, one of the main reasons of unbelief is coming from here. In people's eyes, it's easier to create small things, harder to create big things. And this is why resurrection is, come on, we are dead, so it's impossible. But he says, no, creation is in relative to the absolutely powerful one. There's no big, small, less important, more important, because what we are talking about is not a very, very, very powerful creator. We are talking about absolutely powerful one. Big, small, all those relative numbers, I mean, they are existent for you and me. So, but we will get to there.
Sakura.
It's also, there is this famous English proverb, appearances are deceitful. So like, even though the sun may look interesting to you, but the fly doesn't really say anything really. It's just an appearance. But when you actually study it, like, you take a microscope, it becomes very interesting. That's why people, get PhDs in studying mosquito, something. So.
Oh no. I said if you discount the awesomeness of a mosquito, you should recreate just its wing, which is an allusion to a Quranic verse.
Do you have a comment first?
I have a question on the same concept of how like the stars are easy for him as particles. And it's like if somebody buys me a painting and if someone puts in the effort to make that painting for me, I would appreciate the one who put in that effort to make that painting for me more. And Allah put this feeling in me of appreciating people's effort, right? But then at the same time, it's like the stars are as easy for him as particles. Everything that he has done for my life has been very easy for him. So that concept of like, oh, you know, like Allah worked hard to give this to me, or Allah put an effort to give this to me, isn't really there. So then how do I not appreciate him less, knowing that he didn't like put in hard work for me?
Joe, about these princess movies. That the knight needs to deserve me.
Let me give you another example that's not romantic. So we were talking about Messi, right? And Zara was like, you know, Messi is magic. You know, he's so amazing and he can like make all these goals.
Out of nothing.
Right. And but we've been talking about how like it's not Messi, right? It's Allah who does it. And you know, we see that manifestation through Messi, right? Or in Messi. But it's like it's less awesome and it's less cool when we think Allah's doing it, right? Because it's easy for him. Like, of course he can do it. It's Allah. So I have that like idea of like isn't that decreasing my appreciation of him?
Yes, please.
Maybe we should change our scales then. Like if I value if somebody puts a lot of effort in there, then it becomes valuable to me. So maybe there's something wrong with that, because in the first place, like rather than saying that, oh, he put a lot of effort, so therefore I should like it. But for the creator, maybe I should take it as I had no right, no nothing to, or to be deserving anything at all. And I am being provided all of these very valuable gifts. So this in and of itself is saying that I am eternally grateful for what I get, because it's not like there's for one of the things, as if there is two things to compare. So he put less effort, why shall I put appreciation or whatever? Now, what I'm saying is there's nothing to compare. The whole existence is coming from him, right? The whole existence is coming from him. There's no other version of existence that I can compare and say that, oh, he put less effort, more effort, or anything of that sort. And also, I am perfectly in need of and perfectly and eternally grateful for whatever is given to me. So I guess this is more of my position. And when we say it is the same for him, a particle and a galaxy, they're equally easy. Again, shouldn't mean that I know what it means, easy. Because for you, easy is if it is like this, pushing with your finger. But when you say that, still, there's a hard for you. When we say creation of a single particle and a galaxy are the same ease for him, we shouldn't be imagining that, but still there's something hard for him. Just the point, actually. It's saying that your understanding of hardness doesn't apply. It's not there, because we are talking about absolutely powerful one. But at least within the context we have discussed so far, we will get to there. What I said, we will get to there. But within this context, what does it mean to say that creating a galaxy is as easy as a particle? Within this context, we can also discuss it. What is it? He says, you see the chain, how things are so connected, as if to move one particle from here to there, you will need to be having a total control over the whole galaxy. So in order to make a change over here, you'll need to be having full control over here. So within that context, this is the justification for one is as easy as the other, or if you want to switch it, one is as hard as the other, if you would like to read it as such. But that simply means ease or hardness doesn't apply to him. So it's a concept for us. For him, he says, kun fayakun, which inshallah at some point we can also discuss what that means, kun fayakun.
In so much as I relate to these events, I guess the scale is not of like how much effort is put into this for me, but rather it's a scale of generosity. Oh, this was provided for me, and then this was provided for me, and then this was provided for, almost as though like every day I open my door, and maybe, you know, instead of Amazon packages, like there's a gift and it's wrapped, and then the next day there's another gift, and the next day there's another gift. So it's more, I guess, on the scale of like constant provision of constant generosity.
And I guess and I guess we can also think about it in terms of obligation or necessity, right? But maybe that'll take the topic to a different part. Like a creator who like this wasn't a necessary creation in one sense, but it's pure mercy in its existence rather than it had to exist. No, it was given, it was a choice. So there's that too.
Didn't mean to laugh that much, but no, I just remembered also something that so why do we worship God and not something else? So the idea that you want someone who might find it difficult to do, or it's hard for him, or he doesn't have the time, or he doesn't have the power. I don't think that kind of thing would be worthy of worship anyways. So it kind of thinking that way contradicts completely with the, with the idea of God, like the absolute God, as the brother Yusuf said, and why we worship him from the first place. Yeah.
Brother Brikan had a comment before the questions.
No, I didn't.
Before Dua's question, you had a comment.
Oh.
I was saying, so I didn't hear exactly what you were saying, but we're understanding what we receive, not from the, perspective of, oh, how difficult was it for God or whatever, but like how much in need we are of the things that we receive, like how, whatever, unimportant they seem, a breath of air, a cup of water, even if they're simple everyday things, we are in dire need of them in every moment, maybe.
Jazakallah. Brother Brikan.
After we finish this, currently we are studying La Sharika Lah, right? And after that, inshallah, we will come to the part where we study what is the phrase? Alhamd lahul nun, after lahul mulk, lahul hamd. Okay. So we will study this appreciation there as well, which goes to your question. Like when I look at the universe, I do see different scales, and you have different experiences, which is part of the existence. It is also being created. Your experience, your feeling, the way you see it, your intuition, all these are being created. And from each, you have different type of appreciation. And all of them goes to him, meaning, you know him better and better with every type of experience, with every type of appreciation. So the differences in scales is not wasted. So yes, if you look from the point of creation, you will see that it is same for an absolute creator, but for you as a human being, they are not same. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. So they correspond to different experiences. And each experience will say something new about him from your perspective. So this difference is also not wasted. So this also goes with Dua's comment, like the difference in scale is still there. Sometimes, as Atik Beautiful said, sometimes you need something less versus sometimes you need something more. And when you in a bigger need, when his help comes, your appreciation will be bigger. So you will not say that, It is same for him to create, because the point is not about him, point about you. You are in a bigger need. You are in a lesser need, let's say. So your appreciation will change from one time to another time.
Jazakallah khair. I guess we can conclude with that remark. Unless concluding remarks, of course. I did see a hesitant hand there.
Very meaningfully.
Abdullah has a concluding remark. Abdullah has a concluding remark.
I was going back to the point, like, imagine you have a soccer team and you would want a player who's not a hard worker, but a player who is really good at what he does. You always want that person in your team. It's the same when you go to a job, you always want the person who is really efficient and really good at doing what they do. A hard worker, you can appreciate them, but in terms of yielding results, and I feel like I would always go for the one who's more capable.
Any last concluding remarks, anyone? So I guess we'll conclude there. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر الدعوان والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.